Hi guys, in this video we're going to look at the June release from Warp Miniatures Digital Workshop.
Scruffy Crow.
So it's something a little bit different this month from Warp Miniatures, and it is these sort of Kenkus, I think they're called, basically little bird people. This is Robin Hood, so he is a little Robin style Robin Hood character, and that's the sort of character model this month. As you can see, that's pretty cool. And then the rest of the release is a multi-part kit. You know I love a crow, so I couldn't pass up the opportunity to put a few of these guys together. These are fresh off the printer today. Still have a little bit of cleaning up to do here, but not too much. For those of you that care, these are printed on a Mars Pro 2 0.03 mil layer heights in ABS-like, LW ABS-like. And I've printed at least one of everything in the kit. Some things doubled up. And I've got a few ideas about how we're going to build these guys. So this one we're just looking at. We've got some of these reversed daggers. I'm going to give him a pair of those. We've got some little crossbows. We've got a few versions of a sort of grappling hook with a little bit of rope. Quite sure what kind of weapon that count as, but that is cool. And as you can see, the bodies have got sort of variations on these hoods. Kind of crow-like faces, and those big eyes that the Warp Miniatures all tend towards. We've even got some quite dynamic poses here, so that should be a fun one to put together. And then yeah, we've got swords, open hands, some more of these grappling hooks. This looks to be a grappling hook without a hand on it, so this is one you could I could put on a belt or something like that, I think. So I'm going to get the rest of these cleared up, just taking off these supports. And I'll build up a few versions of these bodies and try and get a little bit of variation in them and stick them on some lip bases. Okay, so I've still got some spare parts, but I've built up what I wanted and pretty much cleaned them all up. And I've just dumped a bit of PVA on the bases and we've just dipped them in the sand. I even added a couple of extra little rocks just for a bit of variation. So once this is dried, next step will just be give them a coat of grey primer. Okay, so let's have a look at the poses I came up with now these guys have been undercoated. We've of course got the character mini, so it's looking cool. And I like how the grey brings out a lot more of the details. I'm going to paint this guy up completely differently to the rest of them. So I'm going to do him like a little Robin in green. And then we've got this little sort of band of more ninjas here. So I've got this guy, so he's got one of the ropes around his waist. And he's throwing his little ninja star, which I think is kind of cool. And then coupling that with that body, he's giving it loads of sort of dynamic movement. I quite like that. Got a fairly simple pose here, just a bloke holding the crossbow with an empty hand. Quite like this guy with his dual daggers. Got a lot of speed and movement to it, that I think. So we've got this one with the cloak covering one eye with his grappling hook. So I noticed that when Alex built his, he put the grappling hooks like back, like they're throwing them forward, whereas I looked at them and thought they looked better sort of down like this, like they're mid sort of swing. And then he's got his sword ready to strike as well. I quite like that. And then finally this guy, so we've got the grappling hook tied to his belt. And he's leaping forward with his sword up, which I quite like. If we just take a really close look at this guy, so I'm really impressed with how he came out. We've not done any green stuff or anything in the joins, that's just how they go. So you can see the ball sort of joints there. I think once they're painted, you'll not really notice that. Yeah, I think that's great. So these guys are going to be very monochrome, I think. I'm going to go for black feathers and grey cloaks, grey beaks basically, with a few little dots of silver metallic in there. As I said, I'll go for this guy with the red feathers and a green hood, I think. So we start them off with some of this Mournfang brown. After a layer of this, I'll give it a brown wash, re-highlight with the Mournfang brown. And then we might see about making it a little bit brighter red. Also, while I'm putting some of these base layers down, I mean, I could have undercut these guys black and probably saved myself a bit of time, but one of the first things I'm going to do is going to do the bases in Rhinox hide. I can be nice and messy, thin this right down, just slap it on. Because this is the last thing I do before I go to bed, so it's got plenty of time to dry. And because the feet are going to be black, I don't have to worry too much about having to paint over this if I get a bit messy. Okay, so I've laid down all the base colours on the Robin, so we've done some leather and his pouch and his bow and all that stuff. So now it's time for the inevitable Earthshade wash. Something a bit like that. I'm using that to bring out all the little swirls and whirls in the bow as well, and all the texture in the bag. For the crows, I'm going to experiment with some black Templar contrast paint. I've not tried this yet. I think this bottle might even still be sealed. No, I have opened it once. Okay. Don't play with contrast paints too much, but this is one I've been kind of wanting to try, I guess. So that's all the skin and feathers done. I'm probably just going to leave this first one to see what that dries like before I slap it on the others. But my first instinct is that looks kind of good. It's almost too dark. There's not much variation, but it is quite highly pigmented. Okay, now that's dried. Well, mostly dried, still a bit wet. I actually quite like the effect that it's given. It's kind of hard to pick up on the camera because it just looks like natural reflections, but there are certainly subtle tones there that we can certainly work on. So I'll go ahead and finish the rest of them with this, and then I will start the cloaks in this greatcoat grey. It's a nice dark grey, and I think it contrasts quite nicely. We're also going to throw some spear shaft on the wooden parts and some bootstrap leather on all the leather parts and some Zandri dust on all the ropes. Okay, so with all those browns on and silver where it's needed and even a little bit of gold here and there, that is all the grey covered up. This should bring out all those details in the ropes. And on the crossbow, separate out all those parts, and on all the pouches and belts and everything as well. Okay, next up the cloaks. I'm going to give them some Dawnstone. Not very much, just enough to highlight the edge and bring them a little bit out from the rest of the birds. There we go, just a bit like that. For this one I tried a bit more of a dry brush, and I preferred the look on that as well, with the harsher highlight around the edge. Just going to catch up with this guy a little bit. I've re-highlighted and then lightened up the feathers with a little bit of orange, re-highlighted the sack, re-highlighted the bow, and we've gone for a few shades of green, similar to what I use in my halflings on the hood. I'm now just get a bit of white. I'm just going to highlight up these flights on the arrows on the back here, just a little bit. I think I am happy with him. I think that is him done. I think he's quite a cute little character. Not much left to do on the ravens either. I'm going to highlight the silver once the wash is dried, and then the last thing to be the eyes. And I'm really not sure what to do with the eyes. So I'm going to go and have a look at some images of ravens or crows' eyes, just for some inspiration. Okay, so normally when I paint these minis, I do these sort of eyes, which are just black and then dot dot. And that's pretty much how I do eyes of any size. But I had a look at the fit photos, and I'm going to go with these, which is quite similar to the way Alex has done his. And I think they work quite well. It's quite easy to do. I've just got this Celestia Grey base paint, and I'm just drawing a circle. Like so, and then getting a little dab of black and just doing a single touch down like that. We've got those fairly accurate looking crow eyes that essentially finish the models off. Oh, apart from that highlight in the silver. Okay, with the addition of a bit of static grass and some mixed herbs, I'm going to call these guys finished, and I absolutely love them. I've got a bit of a soft spot for crows. This is such a lovely little multi-part kit. You could make quite a few different combinations of little warriors with these. There is a blank fist option, so you could even find some little shields maybe and add that to the sort of sword arms. I'm absolutely loving the little double daggers as well. Very assassin. And then, yeah, there we've got the character. I don't think I quite nailed the painting on. I'm still happy with the way it came out. Yep, so as ever, an excellent set of minis from Warp Miniatures. Available on Patreon and Tribes now. Links will be in the description. Go and check them out. And if you've not seen me show off any of Alex's other miniatures before, We've got previous months such as this demon, and probably my favourite so far has been the kobolds. I've got a video on these guys as well. Now I just need to find a game where I can use a Scruffy Crow warband. And that's all for this video. Please let me know what you thought down in the comments. Maybe subscribe for more. And as ever, thanks for watching. Bye.